Who did
I
that?
know.
Thank you, David. Are we back on this?
Yes, it's the next item. Yes.
Okay, we'll continue our council meeting. The adjusted agenda is going to the addendum. The first addendum is file number 16-0220. It's a resolution of the Committee of the Whole approving a change in the reporting authority and the reporting chain of command for the city attorney from the date of the council meeting on February 23rd until April 19, 2016, from the mayor to the city council. Committee action approved on a vote of 10-0. Fiscal impact is none. Entertain a motion. Motion by Rasmussen. Second by, I'm not sure who had first. I'll give it to Kelbach. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. Who wrote the resolution? And did you?
I drafted it and I sent it to Bob Milkey as the council president and also to Lisa Rasmussen because she made most of the motions. Tony declined to draft it but sent me the wording of the motions to use the exact wording of the motions that were used. So the person that made the most motions and the most seconds, I sent them to her and I sent them to the council
so
president.
So it pretty much was your
to ask him to
office.
edit
Let's
it.
just say it's your office, not you. I mean, you know, it's just the wording. It's not, I just don't want it to be confused with the fact that the motion is actually about you and your reporting process. I question whether you should have been involved. Maybe I'd feel better if somebody said Tara did it.
Well, Tara did look at it.
Well,
She's
now
not here
you're saying
now, but
Tara did look at it.
she did, in addition
know,
to the two council people.
see-
She did.
See, because I'm conflicted right now with who would I go to for resolutions on any of the issues at hand, or who would I go to for legal advice? Who would I go to for, that isn't involved? And the fact that you're involved in this, I would have thought that procedure would have been that you wouldn't have been able to tell me you wrote it. Nothing against you, or,
Well, I was the only one present in the room to know it was presented. I don't know who else would have been able to draft them. And I didn't want to draft them solely by myself. That's why I had 3 other sets of eyes look at them and edit them. That's the truth.
No, I would believe, I
So-
see your logic, but I also see the big picture as to, if someone came to me with something about me, that it would be up to me to step forward and say, I really shouldn't be involved. I'm the only one that can question me. But
Yep.
I have a problem with you writing the resolution, even though it's it would have been better if Lisa would have wrote it and it would have been approved by Tara or something, or if Dave would have wrote it, or if Kathy, the mayor's office is Kathy.
Yeah.
See, all the
And
different
Tony didn't want to
departments.
do it, and I don't want
Ms.
to put her
Jacobson,
down, but
you
yes.
can't just jump in. You got to be recognized by the
Well,
chair.
I'm
This
kinda
isn't a
asking her
debate between you
questions.
two.
I'm kind of asking Ann questions here, so.
All right, I won't debate
No,
them.
and I don't see it as a debate. I just see it as with everything that's going on. I don't know. I just have reservations as to voting on this resolution that was written by the person that proposed us not to do it. And also, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better if the person, if your office reported to the council president instead of the council. Because you could actually get a debate between you and 11 people going with different things if you're reporting to all of us, and then Bob is the answer to us. He speaks for us. I'm asking you, so I hope that you get recognized to answer it.
Sure. Put your light on and I'll recognize you.
I don't have a light,
Oh,
but
I'm sorry.
anyway, I think the answer to that is that Bob can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're planning another committee of the whole on Thursday night to further clarify that reporting authority and how that will work and how you will decide on what independent investigator you're going to have, and you will get to decide based on the order you gave me and the names I provide to you, whether or not you agree they're truly independent. That's going to be totally up to you.
Well, if there's a committee of the whole on Thursday, I object to it being called after I announced I'd be out of town for the whole time. I sent that announcement out weeks ago, and as a matter of fact, I should have left at 6 o'clock tonight, but stayed for this. I'm now coming back early on the 1st or 2nd because we changed the council meeting there. And now something as important as these decisions that may fall to the HR committee, which I'm the chair of, and now I'm not available. So 2 days from now, you're calling a committee of the whole, and we don't know anything about it. I guess I said enough. I'm not going to get anywhere on this.
I haven't called it yet. It was just in discussions, so, but I see your point.
Ms. Rasmussen?
Thank you. First, when we had the committee of the whole meeting, we all in the room, since we voted 10-0, seemed to be in agreement that the working relationship that has manifested itself between the mayor and the city attorney is toxic and dysfunctional enough that we did not feel that they could effectively work together and that reporting chain needed to be altered for the protection of both parties. So I did make that motion. And so when I got the resolutions from Ann, because she drafts a lot of resolutions for us, I'm not an attorney. If someone had asked me to draft a resolution, I'd have said no. It's not my forte.
But should she draft a resolution
Well,
about her own suggestion?
You have her words in front of you. It doesn't even matter who wrote them. If Tony had written the same words, we'd say it was fine. We just have to decide if we like the way it's worded or not. But when she sent them to me and said, does this cut to what you were aiming for in your motion? I said yes. So, it's had multiple sources of review. We have the resolutions here. We know what they say. I just don't see where,
If I'm the only person that disagrees with this, we can cut to the chase right away. If it's going to be a 10-1 vote, it'll be a 10-1 vote.
the wording that would come out of anybody else could be just the same.
It could be the same, but it didn't come from the person who suggested well, I probably can't say this because it was a closed session, the person who said, we have a toxic relationship and I shouldn't report to the mayor anymore. I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Mr. Winters?
Yeah, I think the right honorable gentleman from District 2 has become semantically confused with the word right. Right can mean a lot of things. It can mean author, it can mean copy, it can mean a lot of things. But let's understand here, the author of the resolution is Lisa Rasmussen. The clerk transcribed it. The city attorney has a ministerial duty then to take what was passed by us, our resolution, a resolution that we authored, and make sure it's in good order. But Ann is not writing the resolution. Does that make sense to you, Romy? We wrote the resolution. She just typed it up. All right. Well, okay. There we go. So I know. So again, she's only doing a ministerial duty to essentially transcribe, and so these are our resolutions. They belong to us. If we don't like the wording to them, we can change them.
Mr. Olbeck?
I'll call the question.
Well, there's no further discussion. I think, no.
Vote.
Do you want me to call the question? Okay. Thank you.
Did you get a second?
Yes, we do have a first and a second. I just need to find it in my files here, if you give me a moment. Reporting authority, right? Okay. This is on the reporting authority. You may begin voting, please. And that motion has passed unanimously.
File number 16022. Oh, I'm sorry.
That was,
Sorry.
no,
That was-
that was what I asked. There was no further discussion. No one wanted to talk about anything further, so I went ahead with the motion itself. Is that what you wanted to do? Okay. There was no other further discussion. Okay. So if I can too, and I just want to, I wrote the numbers in, these resolutions came to me, and again, Mary is out of the office. I scrambled to get them out. You may not have the numbers specifically on your resolutions. I do apologize. The words, they are in order in your packet with the addendum. So he's reading the file numbers and the resolution language that you were voting on. So if you do have any questions, let me know. Assist. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Are we done?
Yep, I'm done. Second item then.
Okay. File number 16022, resolution of the Committee of the Whole approving an independent investigation concerning those circumstances discussed in closed session regarding the investigation undertaken, pertaining to the Metro Ride incident report and legal opinion of city attorney related thereto. Committee action approved on a vote of 10-0. Fiscal impact is not listed. Entertain a motion. Entertain a motion. Looks like Rasmussen was first and Abbott was second.
Begin voting, please. That motion has passed 10-1.
File number 160222, resolution of the Committee of the Whole directing the Human Resources Director, Mila Height, to turn over all papers and all communications with Attorney Dean Dietrich to the City Attorney Ann Jacobson involving any file material of outside counsel related to the investigation of the Metro Ride incident. Committee action approved on a vote of 10-0. Fiscal impact is not listed. I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Abbott. Second by Overbeck.
Begin voting, please. That motion has passed unanimously.
File number 160223, resolution of the Committee of the Whole approving the hiring of an investigator and authorizing the city attorney to contact cities and villages mutual insurance company to recommend an investigator with no prior knowledge or working relationship with any parties involved or city staff in the investigation of the Metro Ride incident. Committee action approved on a vote of 10-0. Fiscal impact is unknown at this time. Entertain a motion. Motion by Neal, second by Abbott.
Begin voting. That motion has passed unanimously.
I think we're back on schedule, not time-wise, but we should be on file number 160203, which is confirmations of the mayor's appointments. There are none to be offered up tonight. Next item on our agenda is the file number 150708. It's a resolution of the Economic Development Committee accepting the proposal of France Community Investors, also known as FCI, and begin final plans and negotiations for the development of the East Riverfront redevelopment area. Committee action approved on a vote of 4-0. The fiscal impact is not listed. Motion by Nutting, second by Milky. Mr. Overbeck.
I guess some of the new plans have been shown to the Planning Commission, and I was quite surprised to see the level of on-site or on-grade parking and the fact that it's mostly residential. And there were some concerns as far as what that project was, and it was my understanding that we would see more, have more input put into that, and just wondering what the status of that as far as what that development will be and how mixed use is going to be. Is there anyone who can answer that?
Certainly. Mr. Schock.
Yeah, so thank you. I think the session with the Planning Commission was designed specifically for your feedback, and the developer has taken that back. We've met, city staff is meeting weekly with the team to, work through some of that feedback and some of the ideas. Keep in mind, looking at the entire site, the entire north zone is office and commercial space, in kind of the discussions, and the south zone was more heavy in residential. But they are considering, the feedback that they've received, and they're working on a new plan. So the plan will change from the original proposal. It is already, in that process. That's why they came to Planning Commission. They will return to Planning Commission again for more feedback, and we'll come to economic development with more plans as well as it moves forward. The committees, the resolution tonight is just selecting them as as one of two proposers and moving to the further stage.
Are you done, or need more questions? Sure, go ahead.
Just a clarification then we are not approving what they presented
No, no.
at the planning commission, nor the
Exactly,
the
yeah.
mixed use or anything. This is just selection of the developer.
Exactly. If you
Okay.
see in the resolution, this will all come back to council as part of the final plan and the final development agreement. So it is a work in progress. We want to be sure that everyone, follows that process, and that it's been open and, receiving feedback along the way.
Mr. Gisselman?
So just so that we have sort of a clear understanding, I had some serious questions about the plan itself. So that coming back to the Plan Commission, coming back to economic development, how do you, because I anticipate that they were still looking for 2016 construction or still working on that. So how do you envision or some kind of a timeline, Chris, that you see this coming back for?
Sure. We're moving quick on it. Like I said, at weekly meetings, lots of discussion between those meetings to ensure the project's moving forward. And I think this is in that stage of kind of finalizing the development plan. So we expect the development plan to be in a more final state in the coming weeks, and then, and receive the full approvals and have the development agreement perhaps in March or in April, but it's moving forward at a fast pace. So their team is working quickly to finalize all the elements based on the feedback received from the committee and from the commissions, and then this will be moved forward.
Well, the speedy pace maybe is, I just want to make sure that, all the boards and commissions really, and the city council really has input into the final plan, so that.
Yes, I apologize for using the word speedy when related to anything on the East River front. Okay, that's really
Well,
incorrect. This has been a long-term process.
Right.
And so their plan will hopefully be, will need to be in concert with the approved plan for the East River front, which is already approved.
I caught the word speedy, and that
Okay,
sort of
good.
bothered me.
It scared us, I know. God forbid. So don't worry, we won't be too speedy. Okay.
Mr. Neal?
Thank you. Well, in the earlier stages, we saw some conceptual drawings that showed some elevations, I'd voiced some concerns about overall uniformity of design, which kind of translated to me to monotony.
Yep.
The second round here, all we saw was, aerial footprints
That's right.
of like the whole, multi-phased project, but no elevations,
Yeah,
that
the
kind of thing.
elevations will be coming back shortly.
Right.
They're finalizing the footprints before they do the elevations.
Okay.
Yep.
And I just want to, stress too that we are really focused on the phase one part of this because that's what we're really talking about
That's
now.
correct.
And some of those other footprints on there are almost kind of like what ifs, but what we want to talk about right now is 2016, those footprints, those elevations, that look, and how it integrates with the space.
Exactly. Under the
you.
guise of a broad plan that is implementable and practical. Exactly.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Begin voting, please. That motion has passed unanimously.
File number 041212, it's a resolution of the Finance Committee authorizing an intergovernment services agreement between the City of Wausau and the Town of Satine, whereby the City of Wausau would provide fire and EMS services to the Town of Satine. The vote failed on a committee from the Finance vote, was on a vote of 2 to 3. The fiscal impact in 2016, this action will increase annual general fund revenues of $34,059 for the contract along with increased EMS billing revenues, which are not listed. Entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Rasmussen, second by, I think, Wagner. Nutting was close.
Oops.
Mr. Overbeck.
I guess when this came through finance, I was a no vote because of the fact of what the cost is, some of the service aspects of what we would be providing to residents as far as what we would be giving up as a result of providing this service. I still am a firm believer in that if the Wausau residents are paying for it, the town of Stettin residents need to pay for that excellent service that our firefighters and EMS people provide. So I'm not willing to discount that, and we've discounted other services, and I think that's not what we want to do as a city. We want to make sure that our residents are treated fairly and that the others pay for our excellent services. So I still do not support this without going through and charging per resident what we charge our residents.
Mr. Nutting.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to ask if our fire chief would want to say anything, either for or against. I wondered if that was okay with the council, if she was to speak toward this, to offer any additional information for those who weren't there. And
Sure.
your opinion, sir,
I'd
ma'am.
be happy to, thank you. I brought this to finance because Town of Stettin actually approached the city of Wausau asking to provide services to Town of Stettin, and it would be a natural, I guess, question because obviously Wausau is situated in an area that would provide Stettin with the best response to their area. With that question, my comment would be that we wouldn't be able to do it alone, that we'd have to do it collaboratively with other agencies because we wouldn't want to take all services out of the city of Wausau, certainly to provide services outside of Wausau. So we got together with the town of Maine and also the town of our Safer district, and we came up with a plan where we would collaboratively provide services to the town of Stettin for both fire and EMS. And EMS would be the whole township. Fire would be east of O, County Highway O. So we would not have the whole township for fire response. I know Alderperson Overbeck was opposed to this. He was certainly worried about runs being taken out of the Station 2 district to respond into the town of Stettin. And what I said there, and I'll say here, is that we get simultaneous calls often, and we have to take ambulances out of district. We take the emergency at the moment. This would, actually increase run volume by about 40, on average, 40 EMS runs calls a year and about 5 fire calls a year. And is there a chance that we could be in the town of Stettin when somebody from District 2 actually calls? No one can estimate that or guess that, I guess. What I will say is this, again, I'm going to go back to the collaboration that the city of Wausau, we're trying to extend a hand to try to work with other agencies in a collaborative effort, and I've said that 6, 7, 8 times now, to provide services to the metro area or the area involved. And this will obviously involve training. This would involve getting to know each other, our capacities, our capabilities, consortiums, things like that. And I guess this is the first effort towards that. So I think it's important for us to move forward in that regard and maybe envision a future of something different than what we have now.
You had a follow-up, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Do you currently lend the hand in the town of Stettin on any calls that Safer isn't able to handle at the moment?
Well, currently we have not assisted them. We haven't been asked to. But what I'll tell you is that we do have a mutual aid box agreement with Safer and with the town of Maine. So if we find ourselves in some big event in the town of Stettin, Wausau will probably be going anyway to assist our neighbors, because that's what Mavis is all about. That's what we've agreed to do. Now realize that we're not going to send all our resources, our fire resources, to the town of Stettin in the event of a fire. That's why we're teaming with the Safer District and actually the town of Maine as well. So whether we send one fire company or 2 is dependent on the event. And same with the town of Maine and Safer District.
Just to follow up on the chief's remarks, if you ever want, and I've heard it from several council people, especially Mr. Winters, that said, we need to do more collaboration into our area neighbors, and Mr. Nagel was instrumental in 2005 helping me execute the aerial agreement with the town of Weston. And that was a bold step, and people argued about who's paying for the maintenance and everything, and guess what? It lasted a long time until it got into a political thing and they took their arrow back. Thank goodness our chief had applied 3 times for a grant, and so we had the aerial truck 80% paid for by that. But if you don't want, it's going to be hard to get an agreement where they're paying the full share. But sometimes to get a long-term agreement, you got to have your eye on the prize, and that's a long-term vision. You either share it or you don't. But if you ever want to have a hope of consolidating with their neighbors, here's the first step. The city of Wausau could take a bold step, just like we did earlier tonight with the mall, and say, hey, collaboration is a key, and this is the first step to it. We've helped out the town of Schofield, and the same argument was there. Oh my gosh, we got to charge. But at the end of the day, we got $24,000 worth of revenue every year. This is 35, and pretty soon this fall I won't be around in this capacity. But you're going to start a budget process. You add those numbers up, and you got 60, 70, 80,000. That's one employee. Does it cover all the costs? Probably not. But if you're looking at the long-term vision, you need to seriously look at this agreement to see if it has some applicability for our city. Mr. Winters.
Yes, we have a fiscal note that tells us how much revenue we're going to get. I haven't found anything that tells us what the service will cost to deliver. Do we have any estimates of what it'll cost to deliver this service?
I have a per capita cost, which I figured out, and the per capita cost, now realizing they don't get the same service as the city of Wausau actually gets. Obviously, we have many more services that the city of Wausau gets: fire prevention, education. We do the inspections in Wausau. We obviously will have a full entourage of fire vehicles going to any incident in Wausau. And actually, we have fire response with critical situations with EMS in the city of Wausau. So, but the per capita cost is about $20 per person in the town of Stettin, as opposed to about $78 per person per year in the city of Wausau. So I have a per capita cost, and that's the closest I could get to a cost estimate. What the cost is to provide the service there is, I'm not sure. It's nothing, because we're providing the service with the people that we currently have. I guess it's what Alderperson Overbeck talks about as what service is being taken away from the city. The cost is the same. Does that make sense?
Ms. Rasmussen.
Thank you. I was actually surprised that this didn't pass in finance, and I think that if the same type of arrangement had come to public health and safety, I'd be willing to predict that it would have passed, and probably passed unanimously, because one thing we recognize in public health and safety historically is that emergency services is a relationship business, whether we like that or not. And the city of Wausau has, I believe, not been as proactive as we should have been historically in the past in reaching out to try to build those bridges or protect the bridges that we already have with our neighbors. And this really would be a new precedent. I mean, if someone told me 8 years ago that we would be able to collaboratively work with Maine and Safer as the city of Wausau and come to an arrangement where we were providing services, efficient services to another municipality, I would have been shocked by that, because there was a lot of push and pull, and those relationships were strained. And, I would tell you that, there's a lot of times even tonight that I've disagreed with the mayor, but I'll tell you what he just said about relationships and opening a door to shared services and opening a door to a different level of conversation for us. He is 100% right on that. And that is something that we need to explore. And sometimes,
Could you say that again? I don't hear that often.
in this one particular instance, he's correct. No, but he is. And if we want to have conversations going forward, sometimes you have to extend the olive branch. And historically, we have been personified as this big evil Wausau that's looking to eat up all these little townships. And that's not what we are. But it's very difficult to dig out of that image. And if we can start to build these bridges and provide services, we can create that new precedent, but that may cost us, you know, a little money up front that we may not recover 100%. We can't charge them $78 a head. But we can start to build that bridge. And I think that's where we, you know, it really is like a step one, and maybe there would be other possibilities that would open up for us. So I'm going to support this.
Ms. Abbott?
Okay, since I was told earlier I talked too much, so I want to make this kind of short, hopefully.
Who said that? Sherry, for God's sake.
My first question is, if we do not pass this, would we be able to come back to the table and discuss with them again in a more defined line of coverage and dollar amount with them? Or is this the one-time final decision that we would be able to do?
Based on this discussion, Sherry, they need to get a contract executed so they have services. They really were looking at the end of the year, they realized that was too much because they had an existing contract with Safer. They needed to notify them. Safer's going to lose a little bit of money of losing this contract, but they're willing to do that because I think they haven't said it, but they're also looking at it potentially a long term. It doesn't make sense to have all these fire departments chasing everybody's fires when we're one metro community. You know, there's any walls here. And so my Tracy, you kept me wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they need to get this executed. So I don't think, saying if we're not interested, they're going to have to move on, and Safer would probably have to continue to provide the services as they do now.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a kind
Go
of an
ahead.
April 1st deadline that we've actually extended, as the mayor indicated. We've already extended it for a quarter, so they were going to want to sign an agreement with Safer in the town of Maine and continue that agreement. So we've already proposed dollar amounts for this proposal for this year. It doesn't mean it can't change in subsequent years, but right now, that's kind of what we propose as the dollar amounts.
And on the resolution, Tracy, it says, execute it in XX year. Is that a 3-year? Is that?
Yeah, we talked about that, and that's, I guess that would be what the council recommends. We can have a 90-day out as the contract is actually written now, or we can have it for so many years, but, we could do either way. What I'll tell you is that I think that I can speak for the town of Maine, I can speak for the city of Wausau, and I can speak for the Safer District, is that I think we've come to a defined agreement that we want to provide the best service for the communities that we serve. So I think Safer District realizes that they're not the closest entity to Stettin. And if somebody is in Stettin and is having a heart attack, or their house is burning down, or they don't have a pulse and they're not breathing, that maybe Safer District wouldn't be the closest ambulance to be able to save that house, that property, or that life. So the Safer District and the town of Maine understand, and so does the city of Wausau, that, and I understand they're not our community citizens, but in the whole realm of things, at some point in time, we may be providing services to the whole metro area. So we're all looking at putting the closest emergency vehicle at your doorstep in the quickest amount of time. And I think that's the way you have to look at emergency services, because I think that's what everybody wants. They don't care who shows up. They just want somebody there to take care of them very, very quickly. So I think that I can speak for Safer, and I can speak for the town of Maine, that they agree with that philosophy. And I think we have to continue to move forward with that philosophy.
Okay, I had a follow-up question with that. The other question is, I am also on Marathon County Board, and I'm also on Public Safety. And we just passed on county rural readdressing. And our big discussion on there was the time limit that it takes in order for us to be able to get to a destination and to make sure that we can get there in a timely manner. And that was the big deciding vote on how quick we can get there. And I believe you have to be there in 8 minutes for a heart attack. I believe that's what it is. Otherwise, you can have severe damage that could be done at that time. And if we do not get the correct addressing and we cannot respond within 8 minutes, we have issues. So I just want to make sure that with this rural rural addressing or re-addressing that may be taking place within the next year, I believe it is, that this would also be able to expedite the response time to Stettin then as well, and that we would be servicing them in a more timely manner. And I just want to make sure, as being part of the Spirus community as well, that we can get to those individuals as fast as possible. So that's why I was concerned with, if we did not do this, if there would be other issues with it because of the new readdressing that we would be taking place in Marathon County. So you really don't have to respond to that, but I just want to make sure that it is like an 8-minute response that they're looking for in order to get to your destination. So they are trying to get it so that the EMTs, fire department, and everything, police, can get there within a timely manner, and that they're working all together.
Yeah, I think time is of the essence, as you indicated. And what I'll tell you is that, city government actually, or municipal government actually sets that standard. What is the time frame that you want your emergency services there? I don't set that standard, you set that standard. And I think what town of Stettin sees right now is that with Station 2 available, Station 2 is going to get there much, much quicker in that 4 to 6 minute time frame than any other ambulance service available. And if Station 2 is not available, the next closest ambulance will be dispatched.
By way of history, we used to have that contract, and I believe it was in 2002, 2003, Rib Mountain took it away from us. We rebid that contract, I think 3 times before Tracy was here, to try to reach out and reestablish a relationship, and it failed. And then Safer came along, and so it's been, we used to be there because it was the closest, and I think there's still concerns of that depending on where the ambulance is coming and where the fire truck is. Mr. Neal.
Thank you. As a member of the Public Health and Safety Committee, I don't know if your prediction of a unanimous vote was a lead pipe cinch. I sat in on that Finance Committee meeting, and I heard the various concerns, questions of equity, when you're talking about delivering a service to our citizens and then to citizens of another community, and how do we arrive at some sort of equity. I don't know how the number that was used for this proposal was really arrived at, and you made mention, Chief, of the expanded services that are afforded to citizens of Wausau. But if we're talking about emergency services, I'd be more interested in the value of those emergency services. What portion of our $78 do we pay for emergency services versus the expanded services? And how does that compare to the $20 per capita for a town of Stettin? I don't really view them as like a depressed community that cannot afford to pay their taxes. There's some really nice houses out there, and I've gone out there and have friends that live out there, and it's beautiful. So, these people take pride in where they live, and they've got a wonderful place to live, and they're looking for Wausau-level services. And so what is maybe what we might think is a more equitable number for us to get?
Are you asking me, or are you asking the
Sure,
council?
or can that be arrived at through, further negotiation?
Like Alderperson Abbott said, I don't think anything's out of the question. If I get direction, I will do what the council directs me to do.
Could I just follow up then? I'd like to see some kind of comparison of a sense of equity, for emergency services. If this person is getting them and this person is getting them, I'm kind of like, well, they should be kind of paying about the same for them.
Sure.
Unless there's
how
some
we arrived
really
at the
extenuating circumstances that I don't understand. And I'm all for collaboration, and we need to build those bridges and build that. I'd love to see the time when, we don't have the redundancy of services that we've got in the metropolitan area, and we maximize efficiency, and we have the highest level of quality of service, But I don't know that this is the way to go about it. I think that, we have to deal in terms of value, real value, so.
Yeah, how that was arrived at is the per capita out there is about 2,200 people. Or the the population out there, I'm sorry. And we're guessing that between the contracted dollar amount and the amount in billing, and again, this is an estimation, that we'll get about $15,000 to $16,000 in billing coming from there if we get 40 runs out into the township. So with that estimation, we're looking at about $50,000. So, you know, the cost then would be about $20 per person, or just under $20. And the same is true for, we're about 14% of the levy right now, EMS and fire. So if you look at what our cost is as far as 14% of the levy and divide it by the population, that's how I arrived at the amount that each citizen pays, which amounts to, I think, about just under 30 cents a day for our services.
Mr. Overbeck?
I guess this still comes down to what our residents pay for living in a city and the services we expect versus a town. And I have a hard time looking at a $50,000 amount and then looking at a multi-million-dollar cost of a department and all of the money we put into there. Today, we just approved 10 radios that were probably $35,000, you know, in that range at 35.
Just under 35.
So, you know, just our radios cost more than that service we're providing to Stettin. So, you know, we invest in what we provide as a city. Our residents are not questioning that. You know, I need a piece of wood to knock on, but never have used the fire department or whatever. I pay for that insurance, and that's what I pay for in that service. I won't, you know. But I think they should pay for that. I mean, I look at Stettin, because I live a few blocks away from it, and look at what the homes are going up in that area, and they're not small homes, and they need protection to protect, and they should be investing in that. But they've chosen to be a town. And within my street, all the way on 36th Avenue, there's one Stettin resident. And I don't know how that exists, but it's through a little network of alleyways so that they can be almost part of Wausau and receive services. So I really question whether we're being fair to ourselves, fair to our residents, that we only charge a small amount, even when we're taking our vehicles, our people out distances where it takes them longer to get back. And we've done this consistently, the council has, as far as assessments, animal control, whatever, and we're spreading ourselves too thin. You know, there's one fire station on the west side, that's it. There's two on the east side. You know, they're positioned, and I designed a fire station and looked at where that was. It was actually Stevens Point. But we looked at areas on how that was suited for that area and the service area, and whether it should stay there. So I don't want to shortchange our own residents to give a value or a perceived value. That's not collaboration. That's taking advantage of a situation with the city.
Ms. Rasmussen?
Thank you. You know, I think it's important, though, that we put in perspective the amount of call volume that they would actually generate. I mean, when you think of the relationship and the bridge that can be built with this community, if their call volume is expected to be 40 EMS and 5 fire, if they're going to present in a year the volume of calls that our crews run in a week, we need to put that in perspective. And I think when we talked about a per capita model based on population and a limited amount of services being provided, we're not going to go out there and do inspections, we're not going to go out there and do public education, a limited amount of services. We used a similar model when we started to talk about regionalizing animal control. The townships, when we talked about serving townships, they needed less service than the city needed. So we were going to give them a different rate that was palatable to them, to get them to partner with us, to extend that olive branch. This is really not that much different. It's a different service, but they're a small population, they're in a small area, and they present, in proportion to our total, a very, very small call volume. So, you know, I think that this, even though this arrangement's in its infancy, to look at charging those things 100% equally is just different. It needs to be different from my perspective. I mean, we operate a far bigger operation, and we provide a far different level of service in the city.
Mr. Gisselman?
Yes, as a member of Public Health and safety, I would, no, I will be, I support this, I support the cooperative nature that we have in the metro area. But Sherry, I think as part of public, what's your committee? Public safety, I think Marathon County really should start to think about looking at a metro area. I mean, Marathon County is a large county, I know that. But, you know, there's a lot of the local municipalities within 15 miles of Wausau, from Mosinee to Marathon City, would draw the lines. But I think that Marathon County really has to start to step up and start to look at emergency services for all the citizens, I'm not saying guaranteeing the same medical and fire services throughout the county, but at least start to look so that, you know, that we're all in this together, we're all in the metro area together, and the one agency that can do this is Marathon County. And I think that they have really an obligation. There's a lot of people in this metro area, and I think that if we aim to provide the same fire medical services, I think that's really a role of Marathon County. And I would think that that would be something Marathon County should take up.
Mr. Winters?
Thank you. Just to backtrack a little bit, when we designed the animal control program, the rural areas would have had a higher cost per call than the cities. That would have been different. But let me see if I can get us to some compromise. I mean, the $20 per capita versus the 78 seems to be a heavy spread. How about we increase this number 50% and take the number 34,059 and make it 51,089. That's my motion.
Do you have a second?
For the base number?
50,089, get it closer to $30 per capita rather than 20.
Where's that in the resolution?
It's right on the front.
You're just talking about on the fiscal impact of the resolution?
Mhm.
Okay. Can I just have this?
You're welcome.
All right, this will be easier this way. Okay, say that one again to me.
Change
Mr.
the number 34,059 to 51,089. That's my motion.
Second by Abbott's.
Can we continue to speak prior to the vote?
Yeah, I can type this while you guys go if you want
Go
to
ahead,
keep going.
Mr. Wagner.
Is it only on the motion, or is it on the?
Oh, very
This is not
good.
on the motion.
Totally on the amendment, you're right, sir.
Okay. Anybody else on the amendment? Neil or Nutting? Rasmussen? Huh?
On the amendment?
I would speak to the amendment.
Okay, who's first? Neil, thank you. Sherry, Lisa? Betty? I haven't come up with that yet. Betty?
Let's do a
Okay.
duet.
Okay, so we've got Neil and Lisa
Mr.
to
Neil.
talk about the amendment.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I welcome the spirit of your motion to amend. What I was getting at earlier, I think, was arriving at a number that reflected fair equity. The number that Mr. Winters gave is a definite improvement. I don't know that it's one that's meaningful in terms of, you know, delivered equity, you know, the value of service. So what I was wanting to find out was if we're in a negotiating position where we could have a more, I'd say, realistic number. Although I welcome this number, I just don't know how, you know, realistic it is. It could be $6 more, as far as I know.
Right. I can go back and negotiate any direction that the council gives me to go back and negotiate. Whether I'll be successful or not, obviously, is up to the town of Stettin. Obviously, they have their 2016 budget set. So, you know, I'm not sure how much wiggle room they have either, so.
Sure. Well, I just, you know, I'd like the number to be based on, you know, the cost of delivery of services, you know, based on, you know, what we're doing rather than just a number, that sounds good or seems to fit their budget. We all have, these tough budgets, and we go budget crazy here. But it comes down to that, there's a value that we can assign to those services, and yeah, be it discounted for, certain reasons because of not the full range of services that we're talking about. But is the $30 meaningful? Or is 36, or is 37? I don't, that's my only, concern. I would certainly support Mr. Winters' amendment, barring anybody else's comments on that score.
Yeah, of all the research I've done, I'm not smart enough to go about trying to figure out how best to describe or define the cost of services. I can't. And per capita was the only one that I could come up with, and obviously there's a disparity there. So the fact of the matter is I have no other way in all my research that I've done of being able to give you a better comparison than that. So I think that I'll offer it back to you to say, what do you feel is fair? And what do you want me to go back and renegotiate with this contract for the, obviously, City of Wausau Fire Department to provide services to them?
Ms. Rasmussen?
Thank you. Given the fact that this body meets a week early next month, we meet on the 1st rather than the 8th, and they do have, a contract that they need to get going by April, realizing that a delay in this action tonight would not force them into a situation where they couldn't act, would there be value, rather than voting up, voting down, or even passing the amendment right now, would there be value in tabling this action until March 1st to give Tracy a chance to communicate with the other entities involved and the township and see what she can negotiate? I mean, that, at least then she can gauge what the traffic will bear. Knowing now kind of where we are trying to settle, with that knowledge, if she would go back to them and maybe we could reconsider this next Tuesday with some further input from her, once she's had a chance to talk to everyone? If we would, if we could, I'd offer a motion to table until March 1st if.
What I can say is.
We haven't voted on Keats.
What I'll say is historically, they like to bring this directly to their board. They don't negotiate outside of their board normally. Every time I presented to them, it's been at their board meeting.
Okay.
And I can't remember, is it the third Monday?
I believe
of-
so.
Of the month that they normally have their board meeting? So, I mean, I'll give it a shot. Yeah. I'll give it a shot, but I'm not quite sure that they'll agree or disagree to anything outside of a meeting of the
Okay.
township, so.
Well, I would certainly think then if that's the case and that's the sentiment that you get back next week, we could certainly take the actions we were about to take right now. I mean, to give her further direction, rather than lock it in tonight, I'd at least give her a chance to go back.
Mr. Winters, you want
Well,
to
sure.
withdraw your motion, or?
No, I don't,
Okay.
because I think you give Tracy something that's firm. If they don't like it, well, then she can bring it back to us next week, but now at least she could write them a letter right away and say, this is the number that the council has passed, this is where they'd like to be, you like it or not, and we'll get feedback and we can address that on the first, but let's not leave it vague. You've asked for direction, let's be.
Okay.
Mr. Nunny, you going to be talking on the motion?
I will talk on the amendment.
Amendment, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I wondered and thank you for also reminding us of the contract that we had in the past with them. And I wondered if you could, in a few words, historically give us what that was, or if Mr. Nagel could remember what was the amount and why, how long did we have it, and then Safer came along?
I don't remember.
Okay, thank you.
I think what happened is, prior to 2003 is when we lost the contract, I believe, and it went forward to current. Rib Mountain had it, then Safer came along, and I told you that, at least 3 times the former fire chief, we bid on the contract.
But we
And I
had it
just
at the
basically
time.
told the town of Rib Mountain that they were just using us to bid against the process, and then in fact they were more expensive than us. So I just said we wouldn't be interested in future agreements because it wasn't bargained in good faith. So we have never gone back until they approached us this time, and that's why we're talking to you.
Okay, so we have the amendment to the EMS services agreement with the town of Stettin to change the budget sources to add, or to change the additional revenues from the 34,059 to 51,089. And you may begin voting on that amendment. Ms. Abbott's, it didn't register. Okay, that's okay. And that motion failed, 5-6. We'll go back to the original motion.
On the back page of your resolution, under the therefore be it resolved, it says you're directed to execute an XX year intergovernmental service agreement. So if you're going to vote on that resolution, maybe you should decide what term you'd like to enter into on that agreement. And Tracy, maybe you know, or you've already had a discussion with them about whether it might be a year or more.
Yeah, right now, we've talked about is a 90-day out, either party. So if, you know, I think it's a 3-year term unless somebody wants to get out within that 90-day time frame. So if we find, and we haven't really drawn up the agreement with the attorney because we wanted to, well, it failed at finance, so obviously I was a little skeptical in trying to come up with some type of contract language. We can certainly try to do that maybe before next Tuesday, but actually I have to have stuff to you, Tony, by tomorrow, so for next Tuesday's meeting.
That's correct.
So that's going to
Six-day
be kind of
council rule.
tough as well, so. So the other contract language looked at increases every year as well. With the Rib Mountain town of Maine, with the potential of increases. It also talked about a 90-day out. So we, the city of Wausau, have not drawn up that contract yet. We've been just looking for some approval to move forward.
So
I made Attorney Jacobson aware of it probably end of December. But we just haven't spent the time or effort moving it forward.
And the chief and I basically agreed that put effort into a contract when it failed out of committee probably was not a good
Use of time.
use of resources. Thank you. Time. Mrs. Rasmussen.
Thank you. I'll move to table for 1 week and get a subsequent report from the fire chief next Tuesday. And at that point, we can either act on this resolution or a variation thereof.
Second by Neal.
You're tabling this entire resolution, the entire,
To March 1st.
okay.
And, you know, with the understanding that on this one, it may be necessary for us to waive off the 5-day information rule, because she just stated if the packets would be due tomorrow, there's no way she can go back in time. So we need to understand that up front.
To be honest, I don't think I'll be able to get everything to council within the 6 days.
Okay, well, this item
I
too
will do
then,
my
please,
best.
if
Okay.
we could give her that understanding.
Okay, so the motion by Rasmussen, second by Neal to table this resolution until the March 6th, or excuse me, March 1st, 2016 council meeting. Begin voting, please. That motion has passed unanimously.
And just, you know, just so people understand why she's saying she can't meet the deadline is her right-hand person is out of the office for the next 2 weeks, so it's really put a tremendous strain on her, including the elections and so on and so forth. So appreciate your patience with young lady to my right, because she is working as hard as she can.
Thank you very much, sir.
Just for clarification, Alderperson Rasmussen, are you looking for the dollar amount, just the dollar amount, or more specific contract language, or what is it that you're looking for?
I would like us to at least check with the other players at the table and see if the $30 per capita rate is possible.
Okay,
If it's not, we could certainly consider your original proposal.
okay.
And, yeah, I guess just delineate the length of the contract, if they wanted a 1-year trial versus a 3.
Okay.
Where are we? Ready to go?
We're ready.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. File number 160104, it's a resolution of the Capital Improvement and the Street Maintenance Committee approving delay of the 2016 street improvement projects of Ashland Avenue from Evergreen Road to View Road and Meadowview Road from Ashland Avenue to the cul-de-sac. Committee action approved on a vote of 5-0. The fiscal impact is listed as the estimated construction costs of $180,000 and an estimated special assessments of $49,350 would not occur in the year 2016. Entertain a motion. Motion by Rasmussen, second by, who, the guy in the red shirt, or? I'll give that to Overbeck. I thought you did. You did too? Sherry did. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Begin voting, please. That motion has passed unanimously.
File number 15-1004, it's a resolution of the Capital Improvement and the Street Maintenance Committee of revising assessment rates for the 2016 new street construction project of Kent Street from Grand Avenue to Zimmerman Street. Committee action approved on a vote of 5-0. Fiscal impact is a reduction of estimated special assessments from $193,900 to $116,340. Motion by Milky, second by Rasmussen.
Begin voting. Ms. Abbots? That motion has passed unanimously.
Just a side note from before I read the next resolution, in the end-to-end or neighbor-to-neighbor committee on Friday, one of the neighborhood groups came up and gave the city of Wausau a compliment, saying that the engineer, our whole team here listened to them and modified the program, and they thought it was just excellent. So kudos to everybody that was involved in that. Eric and his staff and SISM committee, they were really pleased that we listened throughout that process. So just wanted to pass that along. File number 16-0105, it's resolution of the Capital Improvement and the Street Maintenance Committee. God, it sounds like a TB word here. Approving the 2016 street reconstruction project and the authorization to let bids Kent Street from Grand Avenue to Zimmerman. Committee action approved on a vote of 5-0. I'm going to lose it here. Estimated construction costs of $839,445. Estimated special assessments are $116,340. Entertain a motion. Motion by Abbots. Mr. Nagel, second. Thank you.
Begin voting, please. That motion has passed unanimously.
0108, file number 010842, resolution of the Capital Improvement and the Street Maintenance Committee approving amendment to the Wisconsin DOT Memorandum of Understanding for the Stewart Avenue Detention Pond. Committee action approved on a vote of 5-0. Fiscal impact is to offset the early acquisition and maintenance efforts of the basin. The Wisconsin Department of Transportation is offering a lump sum payment of $336,941. Motion by Wagner, second by Rasmussen.
Begin voting, please. That motion has passed unanimously.
I'm going to be calling in sick tomorrow. Okay, file number 010842, resolution of the Capital Improvement and the Street Maintenance Committee approving a temporary limited easement for grading and the placement of fill and a riprap in a portion of the Pond D located at 3201 Stewart Avenue. Committee action approved on a vote of 4-0. Fiscal impact is none. Entertain a motion. Motion by Wagner, second by Neal.
Begin voting. Motion has passed unanimously.
File number 021005, resolution of the Capital Improvement and the Street Maintenance Committee approving amendment number 4 to the design services contract for the Thomas Street reconstruction project. Committee action approved on a vote of 5-0. The fiscal impact is a $55,800 increase to the contract. Entertain a motion. Motion by Rasmussen, second by Abbots. Mr. Gilsman.
I voted for this in committee, but since then, I think, in addition to what Mr. Killian has said this evening, I think that there are some serious questions that the city council may want to take a look at with regard to moving, especially this agreement on. I think that the agreement itself, the change order number 4, specifically speaks to all alternatives including, but it does go on to really include the 4-lane from the river up through 4th Avenue. And I think that this committee, as well as CISM, are pretty far away at this point in time from making some kind of a decision with regard to how this is to go on. And I feel at this point in time, I really don't want to, I feel very hesitant in making this kind of a decision at this point. So therefore, I would move that this sent be back to CISM so that CISM committee can take a look at it as we go on with regard to the design of that part of Stewart Avenue from the river to 4th Avenue.
Second by Milky. Ms. Rasmussen.
Thank you. You'll recall from our discussion in CISM, we had Bruce Gerland with us. We also had Eric Lindman talk about the design services contract. This is really to allow work that AECOM already has underway to be completed and continue. It is not extra funding to design a 4-lane east section. That design actually already exists and was done as part of the original plan. It's been shelved. It's sitting on a shelf. So none of this money draws a 4-lane eastern half. However, if we don't approve this contract, they can't finish the work. And that includes the design and completing of the design on the west half. So I don't know if Eric wants to come up and talk about that, but this has nothing to do with undermining the residents on the east half. There's no need for a delay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really, this is to maintain AECOM as our engineer. You know, that decision as far as what that design is going to be has not been made yet. Obviously, there's quite a few decisions, but we also want AECOM involved in that. And so we want their services, their professional services with that, and that's really what this allows.
I'd like to add as a follow-up
Go
that
ahead.
the CISM committee last month directed both AECOM and our staff to get an assessment from the DOT as to the lifespan left on the bridge on Thomas Street before we make any moves on the eastern half. And we have not yet received that feedback, so we are not making any moves on anything east of 1st Ave or east of 3rd Avenue. And so, other than keeping AECOM engaged in the process and getting some additional facts, we are not making any move on Killian's area.
Sure, your light's on.
It's the Thomas Street neighborhood, Lisa. It's not, I know that Tom Killian speaks very well to the neighborhood and to Thomas Street, but it's really the neighborhood. It's the Thomas Street neighborhood from the river up to 4th Avenue, and that's what I speak about because the change order number 4 really does in bold specifically speak to and calls attention to the 4-lane raised median concept from 4th Avenue to the Wisconsin River. I have no trouble with AECOM. Granted, there's environmental issues that we have to talk about. There's other issues that are standing tall with regard to this. I'm just very hesitant at this point in time about moving this forward, especially with regard to the wording that speaks to the river up to 4th Avenue.
And I understand that. The environmental concerns or stuff, those are something that can be discussed, but that, if the city wants to pursue additional environmental or anything like that, that's separate than this. Right now, it was initially discussed, so they actually have a layout for a 4-lane, but that doesn't mean that's what's going to be designed for that. And so, as we talked in CISM, we had discussed getting into a contract with them and then start having discussions with them on what we want moving forward. So that's really what this amendment is. Without it, we can't really have AECOM on board with us and start these discussions with them. So.
Ms. Rasmussen?
Thank you. It's important to recognize also that the alternative designs that we received from Grafe that we contracted and paid for did initially delineate a 4-lane section on that east half, but we were not committed to that, and we certainly are not closing off any options by continuing to retain ACOM. I think the one thing we don't want to do to the Thomas Street neighborhood is add another delay. We just can't do it. So please support this. We need to move forward.
Mr. Neal? Oh, Abbott's, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to reiterate that this is just, if this does not move forward, there will be one more delay on the west portion of Thomas Street, and we need to get that moving. There have been several people that have confronted me that are interested in developing Thomas Street again, and I cannot discuss that at this time, but if this does not move forward, then we might not have any further development. We just got done with Christ. We moved Thunder Loop as well, and we need to be able to continue to move forward with development in that area, and we cannot do that unless Thomas Street is completed.
Mr. Neal?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I thank Mr. Killian for, reminding me of my request there some long time ago. But that desire still remains. I still hold the concern about how that stretch of Thomas Street will be designed and how it's all going to, break out. I'm confident that we will have input on any design questions going forward to that part of the road, just as we've talked about the rest of the road for a long time. I have no problem, though, with moving ahead with this contract with this service provider to keep the ball rolling. I don't want any more delays. Matter of fact, it seems like forever since anything happened to me. So, keep it going, but I'm curious to see how that end will be handled when it finally comes to us.
Mr. Gisselman, will you just listen to this to make sure I have it right? It's a motion by Gisselman, second by Milky, to send the resolution of the SISM Committee Amendment Number 4, the Design Services Contract for Thomas Street Reconstruction Project, back to the Capital Improvement and Street Maintenance Committee. Was that correct? Okay. So that's what we're voting on. And if you'd begin voting, please.
Wait, clarify. We're voting
Okay.
to send it back to SISM?
Wasn't that what the I thought it was to send it back to SISM. That's what I was asking for clarification on. The back to, send the whole resolution back to SISM.
Okay, I don't feel that's necessary, so I'd encourage a no vote.
Okay, I'm hoping the system will work. We'll try it with the microphone switch. We'll see what it does, but you can continue with the voting. The last one to vote would be Rasmussen. We'll see how it turned out. And it failed for a 2-9, so we can go back to the original resolution. Let's see, 021005. In the original resolution, we had a motion by Rasmussen, second by Abbott's, and you may begin voting, please. And that has passed 10-1.
Thank you. Okay, file number 50,
Okay,
Sorry.
yep, I know you're going to address, this is the next item.
okay,
Is that correct?
yes,
Okay, I just wanted to say.
go ahead, speak in your
Yeah, I'm
microphone.
sorry. It's getting so late, I'm getting confused with everything. The next item is the 15-12-15. I just wanted to say this is,
Yep.
nope,
Yep.
wrong item. Keep going.
Town of Maine?
Is it the right one? No, this is the main annexation one. Later, yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay.
Continue going, Mayor.
I'm
I'm
okay?
sorry to interrupt, yep.
Not a problem. File number 15-1215, it's joint ordinance of the Capital Improvement and the Street Maintenance Committee and the Plan Commission annexing territory from the town of Maine to the city of Wausau. Wad Vogel, the petitioner of territory bounded by County Trunk Highway K, Merrill Avenue, North 28th Avenue, and Decatur Drive. Smith, the petitioner, territory south of Emery Drive and east of County Trunk Highway K. Johnson, the petitioner, is 4306 and 4702 County Road K, and adjacent property to the west. SISM approved it on a vote of 5-0 on December 10th, 2015, approved it on a vote of 4-0 on December 15, 2015, and approved on a vote of 4-0 on February 11, 2016. Plan Commission approved it on a vote of 5-0 on 12/10/2015, approved on a vote of 6-0 on 12/15/15, and approved it on a vote of 6-0 on 2/16/16. Fiscal impact is pursuant to state law. A payment will be made to the town of Maine for their tax share loss for a period of 5 years. This payment will be offset by the new taxes generated on the annexation. Entertain a motion. Motion by Nutting, second, did somebody? Okay, Wagner. Excuse me, Winters. Didn't you went like this, right? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Did this need to get read into? This is the, on your desk, I think that's the item I was looking for. This addresses this. I don't know if the council needs to. The paper I left on your desk is for this line item. No, not the map. It is from the Department of Administration.
It's the letters we received from the Department of Administration, which do not indicate that they are advisory opinions, but since we are in new territory, we are treating them as such. And since the statutes require that we do have that, and you do consider it, but you don't have to follow it, we provided a copy to you at your desk before voting on the annexation ordinance.
We have a motion by Nutting and second by Winters. You may begin voting, please. This is on the annexation, and that motion has passed 10-1. Just for the record, can you just see what mine says? 10-1.
Yeah.
So,
The thing is goofing us up.
you thought you pressed green? Mine showed up green on yours. So, okay, it's tired too. The vote should be, you're confident with the green? Okay, the vote should be recorded as it is here in the system.
10-1.
It was 10-1 on that one, yes.
Okay, now we do this.
Yes.
Okay. Need to suspend rule number 1, subset D, transmission of committee business to council for the following items. It requires a 2/3 vote to suspend rules. A motion by Neal, second by Milky.
Okay, begin voting, please. That motion has passed 10-1.
File number 160106, resolution of the Common Council authorizing and directing the city attorneys to submit written comments on the proposed cooperative boundary plan among the Village of Maine, Village of Brokaw, and Town of Texas. Committee action is pending, and the fiscal impact is none. I entertain a motion. Motion by Neal, second by Rasmussen. Mr. Neal.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, the wording as it appears on our agenda seems a little odd. Wouldn't it be a resolution authorizing and directing the city's attorneys to submit written comments on Wausau's challenge to the boundary plan, the cooperative boundary plan among the Village of Maine, Village of Brokaw, and Town of Texas? Because it's not a proposed plan. They've have the plan. They voted on the plan, and the state at this point has been supporting the plan. We're challenging it on grounds. Pursuant to some of the comments that have been published lately by Ms. Hainish regarding their position, what I asked for this past week, some input from city attorney. I know you're on vacation at the time and everything, but to sort of respond to those grounds as opposed to our grounds at this point. And so that's coming out of this is what I'd really like to see is comments that in effect address the claims that have been made public and a clarified position on our behalf.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Alderman Neal, I didn't get your message last week, but we do have Attorney Laura Callan here from Stafford Rosenbaum, who is here to address this issue for us. Perhaps you can take to the podium and give us some reason for the drafting of the agenda item that way, and that's why this map is at your desk, to give you, to provide to you for looking at this item what the incorporated territory would look like.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Laura Callan. I'm an attorney with Stafford Rosenbaum. We've been engaged by the city to represent it in various matters concerning Maine's incorporation, the annexation petitions, and now the cooperative plan. Let me start by explaining that the cooperative plan process is highly regulated by state statute. The statutes dictate the content of the plan, the process for adopting the plan, and the terms and conditions under which the Department of Administration approves these cooperative plans. So the stage we're at right at this particular point in time is at the comment period. The plan participants, Maine, Texas, and Brokaw, have held a public meeting on February 10th. Under the statute, the public and any governmental entity has 20 days after the public hearing to submit comments. Those comments are considered by DOA at the time the plan is submitted for approval. And so in terms of the wording of the resolution, our thoughts were that it is still a proposed cooperative boundary plan, in that although the participating municipalities have adopted resolutions authorizing the negotiation of the plan, there's still a couple of steps that have to be taken before the plan is finally approved by those municipalities and then submitted to the Department of Administration for its review.
No. Mr. Neal?
So, yeah, excuse me then, this is news? This is a new development? I haven't gotten any background on this.
Sure, let me provide some for you. The city filed its lawsuit against Maine and the Maine Board of Supervisors and its members on February 3rd. I believe a day or so after the lawsuit was filed. By the way, that lawsuit challenges not only the process by which Maine was incorporated, but also the resolution that authorized Maine to engage in the negotiations for this cooperative plan. I think a couple days after that, maybe on February 4th, I want to say, a draft of the cooperative plan was made available. It is available on the Maine's website. It's about 16 pages, excluding numerous exhibits. So those are the developments in terms of the timing of the release of this. Again, a few days after that, there was a public hearing at, I believe, Wausau West High School, where the public was invited to attend. It was noticed, and comments were heard. And so now the comment period extends through March 1st. That's our deadline if the city wants to comment. So that's where we are.
Mr. Winters?
Yes, just a question. I think this may be what Tom was getting at. The comments you submit are going to be in opposition to this plan. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, so they're going to be, that's it.
We were tasked with reviewing the plan to determine compliance with the state statutes. It's our opinion that the plan does not comply with those statutes, that the content of the plan is insufficient, and it doesn't satisfy the requirements for approval by DOA. In the draft resolution that's in front of you, we've identified the 6 key talking points. But our comments, that the plan is to refine our our thoughts and comments and concerns and submit the comments in the form of a letter to the clerks of the 3 municipalities and a copy to the Department of Administration.
Ms. Rasmussen?
Thank you. Given the fact that the recitals that we see in the resolution really identify, 6 glaring deficiencies that, we have identified as issues with the agreement, I will make a motion that we approve the authorization and direction to the city's attorneys to move forward with the comment submission immediately.
Do you have a second? Second by Winters.
Isn't that, I'm sorry, I'm very tired, but isn't that what this resolution is?
Yeah.
We already have a motion and a second.
Oh, we did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The resolution, this one here, right? Yeah. We have a motion by Neil, second by Lisa Rasmussen to approve the resolution. So if that's all we need, then the vote is in order. It is getting to be a little late. You may begin voting.
We need a potty break pretty quick again.
Okay, Mr. Overbeck, there we go. And that motion passed unanimously.
File number 150105, it's a resolution of the Capital Improvement and Street Maintenance Committee approving 2016 street reconstruction project and authorization to let bids, 2nd Avenue from Stewart Avenue to Elm Street. The action is pending the vote tonight.
Yep.
Oh, it's 5-0?
That
I'm
was-
sorry, I wrote that down wrong,
That was that meeting I did right before this one.
which I wasn't at. Okay.
It was 4 minutes long.
4 minutes long. Fiscal impact is estimated construction costs of $1,200,000. Estimated special assessments are $34,000. Entertain a motion. Motion by Nutting, second by Rasmussen.
Begin voting, please.
Is this 5-0 too?
Yep. That motion has passed unanimously. Yep.
File number 160105 is resolution of the Capital Improvement and Street Maintenance Committee approving 2016 street reconstruction project and authorizing to let bids, Chicago Avenue from 2nd Street to 10th Street. Committee action approved on a vote of 5-0. The estimated construction costs of $686,000 and estimated special assessments at $81,900. Entertain a motion. Motion by Rasmussen, second by Abbots.
Begin voting. That motion has passed unanimously.
File number 0923, resolution of the Public Health and Safety Committee approving the award of a 5-year contract for EMS billing and collection services and related electronic patient care reporting system to PTS Services, Inc., a McKesson company. Was it 5-0? Okay. Committee action was a vote of 5-0. Based on the 2015 collections, the annual fee of $89,803. Entertain a motion. Motion by Milky, second by Wagner. That's what I thought. Phew.
Begin voting, please. That motion has passed unanimously.
And then, as noted on your agenda, and we thank Mr. Overbeck, who championed this along with city staff, but the next 7 items will be pulled from the agenda, and it should be reflected on your agenda with a crossed out file number. So the next item that we need to consider is file number 150105. It's a resolution of the Finance Committee approving Thomas Street relocation plan for Phase 1 reconstruction from 4th Avenue to 17th Avenue. The committee action will be tonight, right?
I
No?
think those were acted on in finance
They were-
tonight.
Well,
Oh,
okay, so that's why we go back in the,
Yeah, you're going back into
okay. And then in the next one I read too?
Yep.
Okay. And the next one that will be considered in closed session is file number 150105, a resolution of the Finance Committee approving the Thomas Street project data book for Phase 1 reconstruction from 4th Avenue to 17th Avenue. Committee action will be determined in closed session, and fiscal impact it's included in the MSA contract. So, having said that, we need someone to read the closed session. Is anybody awake yet?
Are we going to reconvene into open session?
Yes, I'll get to that in a minute. Closed session? Yep. Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's what I was wondering.
That's right. We're going to come
Yeah.
back into open, aren't we? No. We're not? Oh, I was told we were. Okay.
Eric, we're not coming back into open? No?
Okay. So then, before we read that, does anybody want to have public comment for suggestions not appearing on the agenda tonight? One more time, and one more time. Hearing that, Mr. Nutting has so graciously, will read the closed session.
What bigger?
With the greatest of pleasure. Mr. Mayor, I move that we go into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, subpart 1, subpart E, of the Wisconsin statutes for the deliberating or negotiating of the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or the conducting of other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Discussion and possible action on the Thomas Street relocation plan and project data book.
Is there a second?
Motion and a second, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get out of here just as fast. You may begin voting.
Who knows?
Heat should be off. That motion is passed
We'll
unanimously.
go into closed session